we've gotten some funny ones over the years. I've got, I think, probably 5 one-star reviews of Black Sheep from families who are mad that their kids can't come in. That's always the funny one that makes me laugh, because it's like, well, that's our license. We can't have kids in here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's clear.
And they'll give us a 1-star review as a result. And you're like, I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Chas Kubis, welcome to the studio. We've been talking about this for a little while now, but I've been wanting to interview you and learn more about your business, because I've been a fan since you opened all of your businesses. And you brought amazing food to Bellingham when I felt like Bellingham had some good restaurants, but there wasn't a whole lot of competition with this like really good, high quality food and beverage. And so for those of you that don't know Chas and his business partner Charlie, they co-own Black Sheep Tacos here in Bellingham, and they have awesome tacos, and they crank out like, what, 10,000 tacos a week?
Yeah, probably about that. Yeah, that's pretty close.
Okay, so a lot of tacos.
Yeah, it's a lot of tacos a week.
The taco train is rolling. And then also Goat Mountain, and we're going to get into all the dynamics in some of the businesses that you've also started, and kind of the adaptability part of being an entrepreneur. So super excited to have you in for the season finale of Building Bellingham. So thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. So it all started when you were a kid and you just ate your first taco.
Yeah.
No, tell us a little bit more about you and the beginning to your journey in entrepreneurship, or as I call it, entrepreneurship.
Yeah. Honestly, as a kid, I never imagined opening a restaurant. It just never was something in my mind. You're like, you kind of go to a restaurant as a kid, and you're like, oh, there's food, people work there, but you don't think about someone owning that, operating that as a business, and dealing with all the stresses that come with it. As a kid, you're just ignorant to all that. Honestly, I didn't really think about the restaurant industry, the bar industry, until I was in high school. And then, in high school I lived in Belgium, so I was able to go to bars and have beers, and my parents, it was just the lifestyle there. And so you get to know, you see cool bars, and you're like, God, this would be cool.
Yep.
Because they have just such cool bars over there, and they're just unique old buildings, and you just get this idea in your head of what it could be. So I took the approach, went to school, got a finance degree, went to, joined a big business, big company, and didn't like it at all.
Why didn't you like it?
Just kind of the repetitive nature of it. You're working for some, you don't see your customers, I enjoyed meeting people from all over the place that work, because it was a global company, so you're meeting people over, but you're not really seeing the end product. You're just looking at numbers.
Kind of a cog in the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas literally from day one with Go Mountain, it was like you are face to face with customers selling your business.
Yep.
You should try this pizza. This is our new one. This one's really good. This one sounds weird, but try it. It's really good.
Like the hummus pizza?
You should absolutely get a cookie. Yeah.
That we tried the other day.
Yeah.
All had ingredients that I knew that we would like.
Yeah.
But it sounds weird because it's different.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah, similar to like potato bacon.
Yeah.
Like potato on pizza sounds heavy.
Yeah.
But Charlie did such a good job with that, and sliced it so thin, and you bake it the right way you throw bacon on anything. It's hard to do, to mess that up.
Yep. Oh, you can throw bacon on anything.
Yeah.
I am curious, do you think after starting your own business, do you think you would be employable? Like if you had to, could you go work for a big conglomerate?
Charlie and I have joked about that for years. I think we were months into opening Go Mountain, and we joked about us being completely unemployable.
Yep.
Yeah, like I couldn't imagine it. It's just one of those thoughts that hit me all the time.
It breaks you a little
You're
bit,
like,
right?
I don't know if I could go work for someone else. I think I'd be a good employee eventually, as I kind of bought into like, oh yeah, this is this person's business. This is, I'm helping them build their dream, perhaps. But yeah, right now I don't know. I'm not sure how it would work.
Maybe more from like a consulting perspective.
Yeah, perhaps
but
that could work.
But not like, because we always joke about the same thing. I'm like, I think I'm knowledgeable, but I don't think and I'm useful, but I don't think I'm employable.
Yeah. That would be an interesting new life change.
Yeah.
Suddenly we're like, okay, I'm applying for jobs, going to do this, trying this.
Well, you guys are crushing it, so I don't know that that's
Appreciate
going to be an issue for you guys. But let's dive into that point when you're over in Belgium, you're seeing all these really cool bars. They have like a different theme or a different like take on food, or they take a classic thing and they make it really cool and interesting, or they do a classic thing really well. Tell me about that experience as a young adult, just being immersed in a different culture and seeing how people run businesses.
Good question. It was, again, you kind of, until you own a restaurant or a bar, I think even as like, a 20-something, you're still pretty ignorant of that, kind of the concept of how it works, running a small business. And the funniest part is Belgium, like when Charlie and I, that's where we met, started talking about the business. We started talking about opening a business there, and we started looking into, financials of it, finding a location. How do you start a company there? How do you pay taxes there? How do you do all these things? We sat down with a woman there who literally had written a book about opening a business in Belgium. And she said, basically, you have to hide 90% of your income. That's how you do it here. Or only employ family. It's the only way you can make it work. Just because the taxes are so overwhelming and labor protections are so significant that it's just almost impossible to do it above board.
Yeah.
So that taught me a bit.
Yeah.
That was interesting. But the types of businesses there are just, you have those classic old pizzerias there with like, the Napolitano style that are just, that's what I think about when I think back to my childhood, is that thin, burnt crust that's just so good.
Yep.
And then, you get the quirky old buildings that have been converted to clubs and bars that are just the coolest old things. And you could never open these things in the U.S. just from a code standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're barely standing up.
The bathrooms are, you think you've seen a bad bathroom in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's just, they would...
might get with a brick on the way in.
You're not sure what kind of disease you've walked out with just by walking in. Kind of thing. But, it's just, even after, Charlie and I started looking, we kind of gave up. We said, we're not going to do this. And we just both happened to relocate back to the Northwest where he is from and where I kind of just made my way to due to some family connections, and start talking again.
Yeah.
And Bellingham became the spot.
Why Bellingham?
I was living here at the time. It seemed like a cool town. Just exploring it, all the outdoor stuff I absolutely loved. The population here is cool. Everybody loves getting out. They like trying new things. It's not much of like a homebody culture here, I think. And I saw, Charlie had been working on this pizza for quite a while in Belgium, and he had gotten it to a point where it was just, he could repeat it over and over again. It was so good. The crust was there. And I saw an opportunity here, pizza-wise. There's some good pizza places at the time. Fiamma was here. That was really good. You had like Pizza Pipeline for like late night, that kind of thing. But there weren't a lot of, you didn't have a lot of quality pizza here. It was a lot of college-esque places.
Got the job done. Or what was the huge pizza that could feed like 10 households? Do you remember the
the Colossus.
Colossus?
Yeah. Every other year or so we'll do that as our order for our company party. We just order a bunch of those.
The pieces are like 2 feet long and different crowd.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it's worth it. They're so big, but they're so expensive.
Yeah, they used to only be like $30.
Oh God, that would have been the day.
Yeah.
But
New times.
Yeah.
So what about the crust? Because the crust is, I remember my first time eating Goat Mountain and walking in and going, wait, they're cutting my pizza, they're weighing out a piece. The crust is like focaccia bread. I'm not saying it is. I won't say that to Charlie, but
don't say that to Charlie.
But sorry Charlie if you're listening to this. But like as someone who's not very educated on pizza, I just happened to really enjoy it. It was just really different. I mean that in a positive way. But he developed this crust, and he finally got it repeatable. What was that process like? I mean, you probably got to taste a lot.
Yeah, we ate a lot. Played lots of games of Risk. Watched soccer games, football games, drank beers, and just, shot the shit back and forth. Pardon me, sorry, I just took it. You
just went explicit.
Yeah, that's my bad.
You were so close to having a non-explicit episode, but
it'll happen again.
Man, pirate.
Yeah, he based it on it's called Al Taglio style, Roman kind of street pizza, and the first 20 times we tried it, it went from the super thin to super thick to overly airy, not airy enough. And he just kept working at it because that's just how he is with it, with cooking. He likes to keep plugging at it. We always joked I never gave him more than 6 out of 10. It was like 6 out of 10. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Never give
Tough
him more than that
customer.
because it pushes him to keep going and improving on it. And it just motivates him the right way.
Did you ever give him a 6.5?
There were a couple times I think I might have given him a little bit higher, but for the most
Threw him a
part,
bone. Yeah.
There's only one time I think I gave him like a 1 or a 2 out of 10, and he knows what I'm talking about.
As you were eating the pizza.
This wasn't pizza. This was like another thing he tried at one point. And I was just like, nope, that one didn't work, Charlie.
That's
Did
not
not
good.
work, bud. Sorry.
Yeah.
We still laughed at that one. But yeah, he just kept plugging away. And then the transition here was a little challenging. The water's really different, so the mineral content, the yeasts are different. So it just took a little bit of time to adapt it. But Charlie being Charlie figured it out pretty quick.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest difference with, you said this, just the mineral content and the yeast, and like, I've been seeing a lot about how crops are grown here, the soil, the water, like so much differentiation between here and other countries and like the quality. What was that like? You guys come from Belgium, where I'm assuming is part of that culture of like.
Yeah, it's the non-GMO.
Yep.
That's a big thing there. That's why, you just don't see American meat sold in Europe, that kind of thing. But from a produce standpoint, it's not too different. You just get the crazy large grapes and, just stuff that just seems crazy, the sizing here, it's not the way things grow. But most of the GMO is the difference. But yeah, the water content was the mineral content in the water was the big one. And the yeast, but it took him a while to find that. And then at one point during the operations at Goat Mountain, the producer of the yeast we used changed their recipe. And that screwed the pooch a bit for us.
Thanks for the heads up, guys.
We're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
So, little things like that just that forces you to adapt quick.
Yeah. So you enter into the Bellingham food scene with Goat Mountain. Tell me a little bit more about like what was the reception, what was the perception or the receptivity from Bellingham to this different style of pizza?
It took a little while. I think after that first visit, people quickly figured out, oh yeah, this is great because I can get I can try that pizza I'm not sure about, just try an inch, like a little finger of pizza or whatever. But yeah, it definitely took people a bit of time to adjust. They're like, wait, I'm going to weigh, my pizza's getting weighed and I'm charged that way? How's that work? So, you get the crusty old guy every once in a while who just doesn't want to understand it, doesn't want to give you the time of day and just walks out and you just kind of go, all right, whatever.
All right.
You're not going to come back.
Yeah.
It's
He's
fine.
not a potato baking guy anyways.
Yeah. It was slow to start. The street was dead. There was nothing else on our street.
And what year was this?
2012. We opened in the fall.
Yeah.
Of course, like we just couldn't get it open for summer too, so we happened to open in September or end of August. So just as like the slow season's beginning to approach, and we just were there all the time. We were just open all the time, as much as we could be there, and slowly, we met more people in town, which helped us spread the word that way. More people tried it. Downtown Sounds was a huge help for us. That just the opportunity to get crowds of people walking past our restaurant that may not ever come downtown or may not walk past that in their day-to-day movement. That was a huge help. And then just slowly we got to know the food truck helped a lot. We picked up the pizza wagon, as we call it.
I remember it.
The oven.
It's like a Hobbit wagon. He had like the shingle on the side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ross, who built that, it's a unique little thing he built. But that helped a ton. We'd operate a Kolshin or Wander and just get new eyeballs on the pizza.
Yeah.
And once people tried it, they'd come in.
What was the biggest challenge for like going from a storefront? Because storefront is sedentary, you're there, you have your commissary there or close by if you need that, and you have all of your resources there. But when you go mobile, there's like you have to really plan ahead for, are we going to sell out today? What's the event there at Kolshin? What's the thing going to be? And what was that like for you, kind of going from one business model to another? Because don't people typically go the opposite direction, like from a food truck to
usually people use the food truck, to get themselves into a brick and mortar to raise money and awareness and credibility and that kind of thing. It was hysterical. First off, that pizza wagon, it's exterior, so you're not inside. You're not really protected from the elements.
Yeah.
for the most part. So when it's snowing outside, you're operating the snow. You have a little roof over your head, but figuring out how to transfer the pizza, because we par bake the pizzas and then we'd finish them off in the oven there. Started with simple little racks and wrapping them in, plastic wrap or something, and then eventually we got Cambros and started to figure out, no, this isn't that complicated, but you just try to base it off sales previous week, or what was going, was there another truck there or not. Try and, okay, we're going to bring 20 pizzas today. If we get to 5 and it's early enough, we'll call the shop, see if they can rock out a few more and run back over there, pick some more up. But you're just learning as you go, like any entrepreneur. You just kind of fake it till you make it a little bit.
Yeah, you have to just kind of bootstrap it a little bit. And
Yeah.
so at that time, I think I remember you guys were one of the first food trucks, like before the food truck thing really became a everywhere thing.
Yeah, it was
right?
also early in the brewery kind of situation in town. There weren't a lot, so it was kind of unique. We didn't have a lot of competition out there.
Yeah. Was that a positive thing or a negative thing?
Oh, hugely positive. There were spots available. And as soon as we talked to Colson, they were like, "Yeah, absolutely, we'll give you Friday night or Saturday."
Yeah, the prime time.
Yeah, and they're like, "Absolutely, this is great." So Charlie and I could work it, and we could have our employees run the shop itself, and then Wander open, and they're like, "Yeah, we need a guy on Friday," so we'd go there on Fridays, and there weren't a lot of breweries at that point, so it was always busy. There were days where early on in Go Mountain where we'd do more on the food truck than we would with the restaurant.
Yeah.
Just because awareness was still getting there. So, but it was hugely helpful. Met so many people. And when Charlie and I worked the truck, we're the face of the business itself, and we own the business, so we can talk about it from a different point of view. And I think people appreciate that.
Yeah.
You can sit and talk to an owner, and they can describe what they're trying to do. You can see the enthusiasm in their voice regarding the product and the pizza and the cookies and whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I think that helps a lot. Or at the beginning, initially, it absolutely helped.
It definitely does. It's interesting to see a business start up where immediately there's already people working for the business versus like when you get to build that relationship from day one, and they're excited for your growth and they're invested because they've met you at the beginning when they can see how passionate you are about it. But so, okay, at some point you guys are slaving away on it. You're putting everything into it, right? You're putting your time. I don't know. Does Charlie have a family, or just you have kids?
Yeah, I'm the only one with kids. Yeah.
So, this is pre-kids.
Yeah.
So it's very different being a business owner pre-kids to post-kids, and I know firsthand that a kid, obviously, you stay motivated on one point to provide for your family. Part of it's for you too. It's your thing, but on the flip side, when a kid comes around, all of a sudden you go, oh, well, I want to prioritize time with my kid.
Yeah.
And a business doesn't really it's not always conducive for that.
No, certainly not. With restaurants especially, your main operating hours are in the evening.
Yeah.
And I want to be home with the kids.
Yeah.
Luckily, we've gotten to a point where they don't even want me on the floor.
Yeah.
They don't want me there unless I'm sitting at the bar.
Get out of here. Yeah.
In the evening. So, I'm called in the evenings generally if there's an emergency.
Yeah.
Which happens. But,
Yeah.
Usually, Friday night at 6:30, 7 o'clock, and an oven will break, or an ice machine will break, or some leak will happen. It's just Murphy's Law.
Yeah.
Happens at the most inconvenient time possible. But, it's kids make it, like, I think you hit it right on the head. You're motivated to provide, but it just makes it so much harder to manage your time. That's the hardest thing, I think, with having kids in a business is you never realized how much free time you had prior to kids. Like, it's unbelievable. Once you have a kid, you're just like, oh, I have 10 minutes here. I have half hour here. I'm going to get a run in now because this is the only chance I'm going to
Squeak it in. Yeah.
Whereas before kids, you're just like, how did I not realize I had that much time?
Yeah. Was there ever any butting heads with Charlie? Because if without having a kid, not saying both lifestyles are great. Because I remember not having a kid and being like, man, this is awesome. I hope this lasts for a long time. And then now being like, I don't remember what it was like before this.
Yeah.
Did you guys ever have like points where something needed to happen, and with different places in your life, you had a disagreement about something? Like, how did you handle those, being in different points of your life?
Honest communication as much as possible.
Yeah.
At times you have to, you're your business partners, but your friends, and you're trying to, you know each other so well that you understand you have to communicate in a certain way. Some people are receptive to some styles of communication, some aren't. I think Charlie and I have kind of figured over the years, we figured that out with each other. And we definitely butted heads post kids, because it's like I said, with time. If before kids, it didn't matter. If Charlie's 15 minutes late, I'm 15 minutes late for something. It's not a big deal. With kids, it's like I've told my wife I'll be home at 7 p.m. or 6:30, and if you don't get there till 6:15, this isn't going to work.
Yeah.
And then I'm in the doghouse.
Yeah.
Like, this doesn't work. And so there was a lot of that, like communicating, like, if you say you're going to be here at this time, I need you here at this time, or I got to go. Like,
Yeah.
It's not going to work. So we definitely, there was a few points of contention there, but you work through them.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes.
Things change. And...
Yep. The ultimate goal is to continue to be a success. So
Yep.
you can see the light at the end of the tunnel and just focus on that.
Yeah. One thing that I've gotten to know about you is that adaptability is an incredibly important trait to have as a business owner. And I've just based on our conversations that we've had, over a beer or just in passing, like what I've noticed about you is that you just have this ability to go, okay, how big of a problem is this? Is this a priority? How do I assess this? Is this going to sink our business, or is it just like a today thing? And so that's something I really admire about you as I've gotten to know you better. You guys had this adaptability moment with the food truck where things are cruising, people are getting to know Goat Mountain better and better. You've got the storefront, sometimes it does better, sometimes it does worse than the food truck, but there was a point when you said, we're going to pivot and we're going to just table this for a little bit. Because it's back, but for a while people are like, well, it's not here anymore, what's next? And that's when this black sheep, the whole black sheep, the taco machine, the taco machine that's made with love, came to be. Tell me about that kind of pivot point for you guys.
Well, Black Sheep, we made the move for Goat Mountain into the large space where Black Sheep exists today.
Yep.
We had this space, and we had hired a bar manager named Brendan, who was similar in age to us, who had tons of experience in Seattle. Honestly, he's just one of the best bartenders I've ever seen. He's a great leader. Just eyes can see people's skill sets and read that he can read a room incredibly well. We started talking about this space, and we'd always wanted to do tacos, and Brendan had this idea in his head, how to do it. And then so we had this kind of raw space that we could tool around, and it wasn't that expensive because it was small. We already had a kitchen. So we started talking about it, and it was just kind of, all right, you'll manage it. He can help us build it out. And we just went for it. With Charlie's food skills, Brendan's bartending skills, we had a good team, and me to just kind of work my butt off in that space until it was built out. It worked out. And Black Sheep just, it took it, I think, probably a month before it was out selling Go Mountain.
Yeah.
Even in the big space. It's
so interesting too, because I go back to you guys being in the trenches at the beginning. They knew that us as the consumer knew that you guys, whatever you created was going to be probably really good. And because of the skill sets that you had and the relationship that you had created with all your customers early on, do you see like a big, we talked about the trenches versus if you just open up a taco shop and no one knew you.
Yeah.
Not saying that you wouldn't be able to be successful, but it's really different, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a really different opening. For one, we'd owned a restaurant for a few years, so you have a much better idea of what to expect, where issues arise. With Brendan there too, as like a longtime bartender, he just knew how to set a bar up that was really efficient and workable. And then we had the crew we hired to open Black Sheep was just like an all-star crew. I mean, we had a couple people come up from Seattle. We hired, some well-known bartenders from town. I mean, their faces, when you walked in there were faces you knew immediately. If you'd been to any of the bars in town, they'd been working there for years and years. Like Will Canepa, Pat Morey.
Yep.
It's just like they were just faces you knew. So they had so many people that followed them from bar to bar.
Some regulars just for them.
They just found their way to Black Sheep, and it was just an immediate just success right off the bat. Like, it was just such a cool environment. The bar, the way it was set up, like, you just wanted to get a seat at that bar.
Oh, yeah.
Sit and talk to the bartenders, talk to the staff the other customers. Like, conversation was so natural there because you were so tight. like if you're sitting there as a couple and there's another couple here or a single, the conversation just naturally started because you're interacting with the bartender, you're interacting with them. It was just such a fun atmosphere.
Yep.
It was, yeah, right away. It kept getting busier and busier and busier to the point where we weren't sure the space could keep up. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, I've had that experience at the bar, and it's really special because there are also other bars where you go there and it's very siloed, which is also fun. It's nice to have like a nice private setting too, but like that's a really unique setting in it. Now that as you explain your experience with restaurants in Belgium, I understand that when you're putting it together this all-star team, everybody was on the perfect same page, right? Or did you all have a different, because of different skill sets and different mindsets, did you all have the same vision, or was it everybody looking at this ultimate experience with different perspectives?
I think we had the vision, between Brendan, Charlie, and I, and that was pretty well defined, and then it was just identifying the right people to help bring that out. Whether it was, the daytime bartender had the right skill set to set the bar up for the evening, but able to, daytime's a little bit, quieter, so you're chatting the whole time. You don't want someone chatty who's going to like just communicate to people, and that engages that person, that customer enough that they're like, oh, I want to come back in the evening with my friends, or I'm going to come back with my girlfriends, my buddies, or whatever. And so you have that person. Then in the evening, you have to have that kind of smart-ass bartender.
Yeah.
And we had Silas, and he was just awesome, to the point where like I have aunts that come and visit, and they still talk about Silas.
Yeah.
Just
a level of efficiency, but also they can banter, but they know when to cut it off.
Yeah.
Kind of deal.
Yeah, exactly. It was just so fun at that group. I look back and just laugh.
Yeah.
It was a really cool spot and we just happened to open at the right time where we got lucky. We had really good service, really good staff, and the town was ready for it. There really wasn't anything like that at that point.
Yeah,
So
there wasn't.
It just everybody kind of matriculated there. It was great.
I'm going to take this to a kind of higher level question here. So a lot of running a business has to do with momentum. And to some, it might have seemed like when, Black Sheep opened, there was this instant momentum to it. But maybe you or I, or Charlie, or Brendan, or anybody else that runs a business would look at it as like, well, the tip of the iceberg is Black Sheep. You're seeing this thing, but the momentum really started when you opened in September in Goat Mountain. And It was like, wow, this is out of flow. This kind of sucks that it happened at that time. But tell me more about momentum as a business owner, like what people see versus what actually leads to that success.
That's a good question too. Momentum's, when we opened, just trying to kind of break it down from my perspective, it's like when we opened Goat Mountain, we didn't know how to do it yet. So it was like there were steps. It was like the first few weeks we were like, we don't even have a good garbage can set up here. Like it's like a hidden behind a wall, behind a curtain, and then you just learn and you get better and better, and then you're like, okay, we need to get better beer taps. This beer coolers worked well for us, but we got to find a way because we need more food storage. And you just step by step you keep improving and improving. We never rested on our laurels there. It was just like whatever money we made, we invested right back in to continue to improve it. So when we did get new customers in, they came back and they wanted more. They invited other friends to come back and meet. And then as it gets busier and busier, you just get more and more motivated to improve it and improve it and improve it. And then as the crowds start coming, as your revenue starts to jump, you just kind of keep going. And then by the time we got to Black Sheep, we had an idea what we were doing. So when we opened from the first day, it operated, efficiently. We had the right look, the menu was set, the space was set, and so we were able to just go from day one, as opposed to Goat Mountain where it took time to get there. Yeah. Black Sheep, we were ready from day one, having learned from all these other things. And as it got busier and busier, we knew how to adapt. Yeah. We knew what we could do to adapt that space. We knew when we needed to bring in more staff. We knew when we could add more taco, styles of tacos or other menu items. And you just keep it improving and improving. So you get people coming in, the excitement's there. And at that point, the street was getting busier too, which was building. It was
huge. You guys had a huge impact on that.
Yeah, and then so that kind of kept, bringing more bodies down every week, and it just kind of kept going and going and going. And of course, COVID hit.
which is interesting because this takes me to the biggest question of all. There was a moment where, you know, you could get tacos a la carte, and then you had to order them in pairs, and you broke my heart. You guys broke my heart. You know, I'm a big taco fan, but tell me a little bit more. There was a lot of it had to do with COVID and, you know, doing pickup orders, but I remember that happening and going, well, now I have to order 6 tacos, and that's fine. I will eat them, but what happened? Tell for the people that are wondering what happened, because you're back now at the a la carte, which is great. So I'm not knocking you for that.
Yeah,
but
no, that was 100%. That was, I can't remember, was that just before COVID or just specifically COVID? Basically, we were so busy that our line cooks were struggling to plate. You know, if you get a table of 6 and you're trying to make 6 plates, and each person has 3 different tacos. I mean, there's a way to do that efficiently, but it's incredibly challenging.
I bet.
When you think about that, that's 6 times 3, you got 18 tacos coming up there. You're trying to build them all in an efficient order and get them out there, you know, in a quick fashion. So we thought, all right, let's try this. And then, you know, you got to order 2 of any type. And then if people complain, you can literally just say, well, you're with your friend here. Why don't you just order 2 of those? You order 2 of those.
Makes sense.
You know,
yeah.
You're just doing your best to survive.
I don't share tacos. You just learned that I don't share tacos?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I don't do it well.
You seem like that guy.
Yeah. Here, you can have a bite. Just kidding.
Tacos. You know, it was just, it was, and then COVID hit, and it was just like, okay, we're trying to just survive.
Yep.
You know, you're like, we're trying to get food out as quickly as we can, and skeletal staff, you know, trying to keep as many people employed as you can, but at the same time, you got to pay your bills. It was just do what you can to get through it. And then eventually it made sense. We said, okay, we can go back to a la carte.
So it was like 2.5 years that you were operating that way before, you know, people think that these things are just overnight decisions, and sometimes they have to be, but ultimately to get back to where you guys wanted to be from the a la carte perspective, it's like 2.5 years. Yeah,
it's not easy to change the kitchen.
Yeah.
You know, once you're set up, the service, the way it's set up, the way the line's set up, you know, and to get, you know, if your staff is doing it one way, to get them to change is not easy. You know, people are, you know, creatures of habit. You know, even it's crazy how hard it can be just to add a menu item.
Yeah.
You know, just get people to buy in. Like, okay, we're going to do this, and you got to learn how to make it. We're going to test it for a few weeks, try it. It's just, like I said, people are creatures of habit. They don't like to change quick, and I can't even remember what made us change. It was just like, okay, I think the kitchen is at a point now where we can make that shift, and we won't get a mutiny.
And your kitchen staff were like, oh no, here we go.
Yeah.
You're like, well, a la carte. Yeah, I will say that the one taco that caught me by surprise that I really like, and I'm not a big mushroom guy, is the mushroom. Is it mushroom and kale?
Yeah.
That taco is delicious, and I'm not. The mushrooms are done incredibly well, but that was one of those. If there's something new on the menu, like the fried chicken when that was on the menu, also something I was like, interesting. Give it a shot. Awesome.
Yeah, the mushroom always surprised me too. I wasn't sure because I'm not a mushroom guy, but that is a good taco. I love that. The fried chicken was one that I'd wanted forever and ever, and I just couldn't convince our kitchen manager, our chef, or Charlie to really do it. And finally, you know, somebody bought in. It was just like, all right, finally I get my fried chicken taco, and everybody loved it. It's just been, you know, I didn't make it. I'm not gonna take credit for that at all. I just literally had pushed and pushed and pushed to get it on the menu, and finally made it on it.
And just for people that are listening that are very curious about, you can get that on
Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's just because I learned that the other day, and I was like, okay, cool. That noted. Taco Tuesday.
Yeah, it's just so prep heavy, and it's completely separate, prep list versus the rest of our tacos. It's just inefficient. So we're trying to, you know, we wanted to bring back the chicken tinga too. So it's just trying to figure out how we manage the 2 of them. The line's only so big. You know, you can only do so many tacos. I don't know how some of these places do, you know, taco lists of like 15 to 20 tacos deep. You know, it's just, I don't know. You have to have a massive line to do it. It's not easy. You know, I would love to have 15, 20 tacos and throw in all these quirky tacos. It's just, that's kind of always my push, is the quirkier the better.
Yeah.
It can be crazy. Let's try stuff, you know. Tacos do not have to be traditional.
No.
You know, try anything. You know, whatever. If the food combo works, let's try it.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
And you'll taste test, obviously.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. Yeah, I'm happy to do that whenever. Yeah.
So let's talk about leverage, because from what I know of the restaurant world, and obviously you've been doing this a long time and also have a pretty vast knowledge with your business partners, it's historically, from my perspective, it seems like a difficult, like kind of a rotating staff people. It seems like in Bellingham, it's not like a career thing. It seems like it's more of a seasonal thing, or it's more of a, where you go to Seattle or other larger cities, there are career bartenders or career chefs or career whatever it may be. What's that like being in a college town where there are lots of good people, lots of great chefs or bartenders or whatever it may be, but someone finishes college and then they leave, or someone goes to a different restaurant or whatever it is. Like, what's that like?
You're both really proud to see people move on, but also disappointed to see them leave.
Yeah.
We've had, we have a few people who've worked for us forever, and they're kind of they're pros. That's what they do. But yeah, we've had lots of people come through that were going to Western or Whatcom Community College, or just finding their way. And they're not going to be lifers there. They're going to, when they get the opportunity, they're going to go elsewhere. But those are some of my favorite employees. The ones that have a goal in mind, and they're great employees too, because they're super motivated, they're smart, they're thinking about something else, but they also want to excel in what they're doing right now. We've lost, God, I can't even count how many great employees over the years, but you just smile, and and I make that clear to our staff. It's like, I know this is not your end all be all. You didn't grow up dreaming to work here the rest of your life. So when you do move on, inevitably, we'll pat you on the back and say, great job, and we loved having you here. Hopefully we see you visit again. Or if you're back for a summer and you want a few shifts, let us know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's, I'm really proud of the people I've seen move on, when they finish school, or they just finished school and worked with us for a couple of years while they looked for that job. Because it's not easy. You get out of college, not everybody finds a job right away or finds a job in their industry, especially with all the different majors that are out there. But it's hard to lose good people, but there's nothing cooler than watching them come back in 2 years later, 3 years later, and you see them with their partner, or just they're a lawyer now, or they're working in New York, or
A taco lawyer, potentially?
I mean, I haven't met one of those, but there's got to be a couple.
Well, just so you know, my dream growing up was to either be a pirate or to make tacos. So if you do need shift work, I probably wouldn't be a good line chef, just because I would probably eat them before they went out. So, sorry, I just totally shot myself down. Yeah, throw me in the dish pit perfectly. You got to start there. So, as a leader, though, you have this great mindset about it, knowing that the industry that you're in, wanting the best for people, being excited for people when they leave, but also there's accountability, right? And there's people that hold themselves accountable, and there's people that need extra accountability. And I'm sure you've dealt with that. Like, how do you have tough conversations with people that are not performing?
Yeah, tough conversations are, they're inevitable. You're going to run into people that, just aren't motivated or aren't making the right decisions. Like anyone else, I hate those conversations. They're not fun. You don't look forward to them. Your heart rate rises. You're dealing with something. You're having a hard you're telling someone they're disappointing you. It's like any kid with their parent. Like it's really hard to tell people that. But ultimately, I look at it like I'm employing 50 people. The interest is maintaining their jobs and my livelihood and their livelihoods. It's not about that one person. It's about the whole. If that one person is making it harder for those people to do their jobs, or hurting the business, which may lead to some of them losing their jobs, it makes it a little easier. Those conversations are still, really hard. I've had a few over the years that I will never forget, just because some of the things you have to say to people, it's hard. I don't even want to go into the details of some of them, but it's, and some of them, I look back on, I feel like I could have handled better, if I had acted more quickly to kind of deal with an issue. I don't, or let it, not let it just spread and get worse, or bad habits fester. I think we could have avoided some of them, but that's part of the business. That's part of learning.
Yep.
I'm not anywhere near perfect. I'm still learning every day. But those conversations come with the role. It's unfortunate. I've learned that delegating is incredibly important. So nowadays, it's like the conversation. If I'm having a hard conversation with someone, it's one of our senior managers. I don't I'm not hiring the server or the expediter or the dishwasher. That's our other managers are making those hires, and they're making the fires too, in the most part, which is hard for them. You can see it when it gets harder. It weighs on them because it's not their business; it's a job for them. And so it's a spot in their life that this is where they're at the moment, but it doesn't make it easier to fire somebody.
No.
But I guess that's about what I have to say about that. It's hard.
That's it. I won't press any further. Yeah.
Firing's just hard. It's just one of those things. It's like when even just job reviews, talking to people, someone who you will continue to employ, that you think is for the most part doing a job, even providing criticism is hard. It's important because I'd rather receive critical feedback from my staff to me than not. Because I can improve. If I don't know, I can't improve it. I can't fix it. And I always tell my staff, it's like, something's broken, and I'm not told, and I don't know, I can't fix it.
Yeah.
So it's simple. It's like the same kind of thing. It's like if my staff one of my managers is doing something wrong, I'd rather provide that feedback. And it's still hard. I hesitate at times. Just it's natural. You don't want to hurt somebody. You don't want to bruise.
You want to see
ego.
People do well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ultimately that's the goal.
Yeah.
So.
Brought up reviews. I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit here because our business thrives on good reviews. Not every review can be good, and you can't make everyone happy. And maybe the taco didn't come out right, or maybe the person, their life didn't come out right. I don't know. Yeah. But I guess the big question to you is, I've only seen good reviews, and I've quite literally, I can't say this about everywhere, but I've never had a bad experience at Black Sheep or Goat Mountain. I've always had a great experience with the server, with the food. I've always left, fat and happy, and just like it's always been a great experience. But inevitably, I always refer back to the Yelp Elite 19 shit slingers, right? Tell me about, have you gotten some shit slinged at the company for an experience? How did you handle it? What's that like as a business owner?
Inevitably you're going to get, the odd 1-star review. I don't stress it too hard. I try to reply. Honestly, I haven't checked Yelp in years. I don't worry about Yelp too much, but Google, I'll check. When I see one, I'll reply and just say, hey, I'm sorry you had a poor experience. Can you tell me a little bit more about it? A lot of them, you can tell someone's in a bad mood, or they just are a really harsh reviewer. They didn't like a taco, and you're like, or we have in the Goat Mountain reviews, you'll get once in a while, they're like, I didn't like that style of pizza. And I'm like, well, why are you giving us a review? I don't even like this style of pizza.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're like, I didn't like their pepperoni and sausage.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But if you're just criticizing the style, whatever, you could, we've gotten some funny ones over the years. I've got, I think, probably 5 1-star reviews at Black Sheep from families who are mad that their kids can't come in. That's always the funny one that makes me laugh. Because it's like, well, that's our license. We can't have kids in here. Yeah. I'm sorry.
It's clear.
And they'll give us a 1-star review as a result. And you're like, I don't even know what to tell you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You try to be nice about it, but sometimes that smart ass in you just wants to come out. You want to be like, there's a big sign on the door. We've made it this big at this point that says, this is a bar. You just got to read it. But I try to the reviews that actually they had a poor experience with our server or something like that, or their food got messed up, or sometimes people have food allergens, and we goof up. That does happen, and those are the times when you want to make sure you get back to that person, apologize profusely, because it's an error. We made a mistake, and I try to, if I feel like it can be fixed, I'll offer a gift card and say, please come back, meals on us. And then let me know how it goes. If it's not better, let me know. If it is better, let me know. And the goal is to retain that customer, or not have that customer bad mouthing us around town. It's I try to stay active with it, and I feel like a lot of times it's worked out. Where you get person to come back in, and they were having a bad day, or they, who knows what it was. But I feel like bad reviews, they're part of the business. Try and reach out to someone if you can repair a situation or learn something from it. That's important. We've done that many times. So
it's a cultural thing hiding behind the internet. But I've always been a big proponent of knowing that our business is built on reviews, that I will talk to somebody just in person there. I'll never leave a bad review, but I'll always, if there's a bad experience, I'll talk to somebody. And I just think that's so much more helpful than
100%, yeah.
just like slinging them on the internet, you know. And if it's a good or great experience, I'll always leave a good review.
Yeah.
Photos, all the things that help boost the
Yeah.
business. You know?
Honestly, we've gotten emails like that over the years from regulars where they have a poor experience and they're like, oh, I didn't want to leave a crap review, but I wanted to reach out and let you know this is what happened.
Yep.
And that's how you want it communicated. You know, so you can deal with it, you can talk to your staff, you can figure out what happened, and then reach out back to that person and say, hey, I think we've addressed this. You want to come back in? And I'll buy you. We'll buy you lunch.
Yeah.
And see if it improves. That's exactly what you want. You want someone to reach out privately so you can actually deal with the situation.
Right.
And not have to deal with it in public. Some review with somebody, keyboard warrior.
Yep.
So.
Let's talk a little bit about what's considered to be Restaurant Row. That was not it was kind of a dead section of town until you guys came in and really started building that out. And between you had the Lorikeet there. It's now Foxhole.
Yeah.
It was Boy Howdy, and so there was that little space that Black Sheep was in the beginning,
Yeah.
and I remember that very clearly. You guys have this amazing section of town right in the core part of Bellingham as you're kind of exiting towards the waterfront area. How did you guys create that? I mean, it's such an important part of the restaurant scene in Bellingham.
That was luck. We happened when we got the Goat Mountain. When I found the Goat Mountain space, it was just an office.
Yeah.
Happened to be in a quiet street, but it was close enough to the Buff, where it was like, okay, maybe we can get some people coming over here. It was a cool corner with Bayou there and the sunlight it gets. Unfortunately, our spot didn't get any sun.
You get all the sunlight.
We'd watch people in the summers, sitting out on that corner at Bayou, just jealous. Like, oh man, there's 50 people sitting outside of Bayou. Meanwhile, there's 10 people at Goat Mountain on a Friday afternoon or something. We just got lucky with Film is Truth moving on from that big space, and it was so close to our restaurant. It was almost like, well, why would we invite competition? Let's just take the space and give it a try. And we can maintain this space and do something. Because our original space, we kind of joke, was always the incubator. We've tried so many things there. Goat Mountain was born there. Black Sheep was born there. We tried Boy Howdy, didn't quite work. We tried Lorikeet, which it worked for a while, but then it just didn't quite get there. Unfortunately, I think after Black Sheep, that space, you kind of, expectations are a little too high. You're like, you're just never going to hit that again.
Even with your own, competing with yourself.
Yeah, in your own brain, you're like, well, if we could do this kind of revenue here, it'd be great. We'll make this much money, and this would be great. But trying to hit the lotto twice is tough. But getting, and then it worked so well with the two spots next to each other. The kitchens could support each other, and then as the crowd, kind of more and more people came, Jack's opened up in the space they're in. Camber went into the corner and took the comic book shop over, and suddenly it was just a really cool vibe in the street there. And the smoke shop closed, and then you had a couple places to go in there, and that's now where we have Goat Mountain, and it's just 5 restaurants in a row, or 5 bar restaurants in a row. It's just gonna create a vibe, especially in the evenings when it's busy and it's lit up. Just the noise and the atmosphere is just.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it just grabs you. You want to stop. You're like, oh. Yeah, let's just stop and get a beer. Why not?
Yep. And the outdoor spaces that were created through COVID.
Yeah, and those have been hugely beneficial for us. I'm sure.
I love that they've stayed.
Yeah, it sounds like. Everything I've been told from the city is it's pretty permanent. They included that caveat in the permits that they can take them away whenever they want. At least the lane that they've closed. But it sounds like, based on the most recent stuff I've seen in the newspaper, that they're going to put bike lanes on Holly and curb that off. But we'll see. But it's been awesome. It's such a cool atmosphere in the summer, especially with downtown sounds, and when the weather's great and there's just 40, 50 people in that outdoor patio. It's just a ton of fun.
Just hopping.
Yeah. It's we're debating trying to figure out how to get a bar in there for downtown sounds. We could actually just serve margaritas on the patio itself.
Oh, outdoor?
Yeah, we have
Nice.
we have a catering bar that we're trying to figure out how to use out there. That's one of my projects in the next couple of weeks to figure that out. So.
Just another one. Yeah,
Yeah.
why not just throw another one in there? But
Yeah.
Speaking of projects, for anyone that's in Cornwall Park, Columbia area, there's a building that says Drinks Anyone. You knew I was going to bring it up.
Yeah.
But you guys bought the building.
Yeah.
And had this vision of, and this is not to, throw any shade, but everyone's, I was driving by and going, yeah, sure, and just always curious. And then I kind of found out the connection and Tell me a little bit more about that space, what the vision was, what the vision potentially is in the future. What's the scoop?
Well, yeah, that was me and Charlie and Brendan and another buddy of ours in town, Matt. We had this idea of opening just a cocktail bar there. Like, there's no cocktail bar in the neighborhood. It just seemed, three of us live in the neighborhood at that point. The three of us lived in the neighborhood, so it was just like we would love a place to go. And we had leased the space originally with an option to try and buy it later from a friend of ours. And Bill, the man who owned the building previously, did neon and signs, and he's like, "Do you mind if I put this up?" And he put that Cocktails Anyone up, and so everyone thought that was going to be the name too, which was kind of funny. But it kind of took so long with permits and all of that, we kind of just lost momentum.
Yeah.
Momentum was important. And at that point, I decided we were going to reopen Goat Mountain, so kind of funding went there. And Brendan had joined the become a Bellingham firefighter at that point, and there's almost only so much bandwidth you have.
Yeah.
Like, after 2 restaurants, like trying to go to 3 would just be, I don't know if my brain can handle it. And you're trying to identify, you need people to manage these things, at times. It's hard to find good managers that can take on these different spaces. It's not easy. But maybe someday we'll do it again. But at the moment, we've leased the space out. It's going to be something pretty cool.
Right on.
I don't want to put it out there for him yet, but just when he's ready, he's ready. But
keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah, at some point maybe. There's a couple other ideas we have, but yeah, I don't know if there's anything new in the works at this point. I'm kind of maxed out.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, I mean,
it would have been really cool. We had an awesome concept, but just life just gets in the way. Second kid showed up, that kind of thing.
Just randomly showed up on the porch, store.
My little guy came, and suddenly you're like, I don't know if I can do this. Yeah, so we had that conversation. Was like, guys, why don't we just not worry about this right now? I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to spend that kind of money right now.
Well, kind of to sum this all up, one thing that I've seen from other people, the people that are listening to this also can see this progression of like young entrepreneur all the way up to you now. I'm not saying you're old. I'm not trying to date you at all here, but like you're just.
I feel it. That's for sure.
But I noticed
the age thing, not you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the thing that I noticed the most of, and I'm starting to notice this in myself, is this concept of like, we talked about the transition from ambition, and being ambitious, but ambitious for creating a world for yourself and for your wife and for your family. But then you have kids, and then you're doing it for them because you're trying to create this world. But there's still a part of it, maybe a little smaller part of it, that's still for you. How do you balance the ambition of making a big impact on your community and creating a business that you're really proud of, and saying, yeah, it's enough. That's okay. I don't need to do more than that, because some people don't have that filter. They're just like, next thing, biggest thing. And that doesn't mean to not be versatile and have multiple things going, but yeah, I think you kind of get where I'm going with this.
Yeah. I think I kind of started to realize that with, trying the Boy Howdy and the Lorikeet, kind of start to realize, it's like, why continue to just push and push and push to keep opening things? Because it's an ego thing. In reality, you're just like, oh, I want to open another cool bar. We can do this. This will work really well. I think you just kind of realize that there's more to life. Honestly, spending 2 hours with my kids in the evening sounds better than anything else in this world. There's nothing quite like that when it's sunny outside and you're in the backyard. It's just, you don't need 10 restaurants. You don't need, I look at those restaurant groups that just keep growing and growing and growing. And, my dad and I will have these conversations once in a while. And it's like, I don't want that. I think, we're doing okay. If someday, it made sense, maybe, but, I'm also, what do I want to be doing when I'm 50?
Yeah.
Do I want to be opening more restaurants? I don't know. That doesn't sound super fun. I don't have the energy for it. It's a young man's game. You just kind of realize that I have enough. I like my life.
Yeah.
I don't need to push and push and push to, there's other ways to set yourself up, in the future, as opposed to just push. And the restaurant industry's tough.
Yeah.
We've talked about before, we're batting 500. Which is a pretty good baseball average, but, you think about that's a business that you had to close.
Yeah.
But luckily, with that incubator space that we talked about, that where Goat Mountain was born, where Black Sheep was born, where Howdy and Lorikeet and Foxhole with Charlie's place now. It's such a cool little space because you can do it there without spending an insane amount of money. You know, some of the money that gets spent to open a restaurant is just, it's crazy, because if it doesn't work, you're stuck with that debt.
Huge
It's
lease.
incredibly tough. But that space we could always, you know, the lease was manageable because we built it out, we made it, and we got good long-term leases with our property owner, and you could do it. You could take the risk without risking your livelihood. So we didn't mind it, but you know, now with kids, it's a little tougher too. And you just, when you lose money, it's like, it could have been in my kid's college fund.
Yeah, different mindset on it.
In my retirement or something like that, you know. I think you just kind of have to, you know, what's most important, you know, my ego, or, you know, making sure I have a steady livelihood for my family, you know, that kind of thing.
So, message back to yourself as a younger entrepreneur, young adult, and maybe this message will be able to get passed along to other people that are thinking about starting a business. This has nothing to do with age. This has to do with like age in entrepreneurship, right? There's a big line in the sand in my mind. What message would you pass along to younger Chas, or, you know, a new entrepreneur, someone that has this excitement for starting a business?
Make sure you want it. Make sure you've got the energy to stay with it. You really need to have that drive to just continue to just go for it and push it and deal with people, deal with all the roadblocks you're going to hit. Like, they come steady. They just hit and hit and hit. And it's like you said, you know, you kind of have to learn to just ride with the punches. You know, you kind of don't stress what you don't need to stress, you know. React calmly, think about how you can fix things. You know, that's one of the biggest skills I've learned at this, is don't overreact. Approach a problem like, how do you solve a problem? This is gonna be really corny, but my wife and I love the movie The Martian.
Oh yeah.
Like, work the problem.
He had a lot of problems.
Simple. Work the problem. Like, work the problem. You just gotta. That's all you can do. You just put your head down and work the problem. Because if you think too much about the consequences of the problem itself, you're just gonna get overwhelmed. You know, if you try and look, you know, where that inevitably could end up in the worst case scenario, you're gonna get overwhelmed. Another one, cash flow. Make sure you got cash flow. We never had it when we started our businesses. We never had, initially when we were younger, we never had the cash flow. Make sure you have sufficient cash flow. That helps. Makes your life a lot less stressful.
Yes.
Yeah, that was always the one I regretted when we were younger, not setting us up in a better cash flow situation to start. Just makes your life a lot easier.
Yeah.
I think that's just, be ready for it. Be ready to react and keep learning. Never stop learning. Simple.
Yeah. Well, Chas, thank you for coming in for the season finale. We did it.
Take two.
Take two. Yeah, for those of you that are listening to this, you won't know what we're talking about, but it's the Watergate of season 5 here. So, yeah, huge scandal. Yeah, it was a huge problem.
Yeah, massively. Yeah.
No, but really appreciate you coming in and sharing your story. And I'm a huge fan of the businesses that you're running, and I'm excited to see where those go and continue to be, and just continue to see your impact on this community. So big fan.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's been nice to get to know you guys, and hope to see more of you guys in the future.
Oh, we'll be in.
Yeah.